educating people about. There you go. That's Rufus. The various things that we're educating people about in our Liberian economy as it relates to small, medium, and large Liberian businesses. So I think we're on the right track. We're on the right track. How was your week? Ava? How was your week?
Read this. I had a wonderful week. We did a promo video for our company, Pepperbird Area Services. And it's a really, really nice video. As you send it to Rufus for him to rate it or assess it or even probably play on this show. So, people can see that there are so many ways to create opportunities. And sometimes you got to find what's not happening in your area, in your community, in your country, in your city, in your county, and look at that as an opportunity to do business, And that's what we did with Pepperbird Area Services. We felt some people had drones, but the capabilities of drones were not being utilized at the level they should be. So we really looked into it and see and identify how we could elevate the use of drone to benefit, people, especially in the land area, with regards to property management, property surveillance, property identification, all of those things. And we believe that there's huge value in the real estate sector that way. And you've owned a home, all the different pieces that come with real estate and the opportunities for people to leverage real estate as a real asset and make money on it. So we look at that, then we look at the opportunities that we can afford different companies, whether industrial companies, whether the agriculture sector, in terms of spraying pesticide, insecticide, or fertilizer, all of those things are capabilities that are drawn in the construction sector, So there are multiple things that can be done, with regards to using drones to elevate your business. And even based on our promo video that we did for ourselves, now our video producer believes that we can do that for other businesses to really bring them to life, to hype them up and, advertise their business. So it could be another opportunity. We never even thinking about that, but now it could be, something that we could do. So opportunities are all around the corner. It's about taking steps, exploring some of the things you do and then identifying others. But yeah, it was a good week so far. And that reminds me, you were talking about me moving around. I really can't drive yet. So we have a family event today that I'm supposed to be going to, and my cousin will be coming to pick me up. So hopefully she's late, as is typical for most Liberians. Then, I'll be up to the end of the show. If not, I may have to I have to cut my time. But yes, it's wonderful to be here. Where were you, Rufus?
Will remain. Use it as a stepping stone to move ahead and make life worth living so that your life can affect people in a positive direction that are around you and externally. So it was great being going through one or two, but at least we have the smile on our faces. We were able to go through the process of laying our friend and brother to rest. It was so sad to have seen a very young man laid to rest in person of the late Fidel City. I guess you know him, right? Or you knew him? Yeah, he used to work with Costa. Yeah, so he was laid to rest on yesterday.
Yeah, and
But
yeah, I know Fidel very well.
yeah, so it is what it is. So we are grateful to be counted amongst the living. Whenever you see the dawn of a new day, you get to tell God, thank you. Someone said, you know your birthday, but you don't know your death day. So we pray to, as we are on the face of the earth, our lives should be an example. So when we are off the face of the earth, that legacy and that memories can still go on in a positive direction. So it's good to be here, and lots of messages, lots of calls, from friends. They enjoy the topic, though we had some glitches as it relates to the internet last week. But at the ending of the program, it was very, 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 very educative. Some said that they follow up on the live video and they got some important points. So today again, as you expand on the topic, we look forward to have more calls coming in and more comments on our social media handles.
Well, let's take off. Let's take off here and let's get down the runway and let everyone who's in their seat fasten your seat belts, put your tray tables up, get seat in the upright position, and let's start the engines and let's take off and let's start moving forward and let's get this show on the road. We have a lot of things to talk about as it relates to the topics we talked about last week. Rufus, thanks for reviewing the points. And I think, Ava, I will start off with you. One of the things that you talked about, you just brought it up, but you didn't bring it up as a show point. But I will take off on that point for the show, mainly from the point of view of creativity. One of the key points about business is that you have to be very, very creative. You have to be very, very creative. And this Pepperbird surveying services using drone technology in Liberia is a very, very noble idea, creative idea that you guys have invested money and put money behind, because land management in Liberia is a very, very challenging issue that has, caused people to go to court and people to do all sorts of things. A lot of people in the U.S. who have, 100 acres, 200 acres, 500 acres of land all across Liberia, from Maryland County to Cape May County to Lofa County to Nimba County, along the coast. They don't even know, where the starting points of their properties are today. They've been in the U.S. for such a long time. They just know that it's there. And that's where Pepperbird, surveying services come in. Sometimes, as we talked about last week, it's so critical, it's so important. It's so critical, it's so important that we need to educate the market at most times about why such a business is needed. But, again, as I always say, from my perspective as a business development specialist, what you guys have done is you guys have clearly identified a problem in Liberia. And it is my hope that, through this discussion, those who are in the U.S. who have properties home will see the value proposition that is offered by Pepperbird Surveying Services. And this is a service that can give you a video. They will have a ground team. They will serve, they will go out to your property. They will GPS your sites for you. They can even, I'm sure you also have the capability of putting it on Google Maps, so that they will be able to not only get a video, but also get the GPS coordinates, longitude and latitude of your cornerstones. And you can actually then, the property owner, if you get the paid version of Google Earth, you will be able to sit here and watch your property and know when people encroach on your land, because that technology is existing. It will give you real-time viewing of your property anywhere in Liberia. And I think Pepperbird, don't look at the fact that they are like Ava is a Liberian and his partners are Liberians. I think we need to elevate ourselves above that level of thinking, so that the value that, Liberian ingenuity, Liberian creativity has now delivered a package as a solution. that Liberians can buy, can purchase, and invest in, that they can get the return on that investment, that your property is properly surveyed. You got your survey document, you got a video, you got a timestamp, you got GPS coordinates, longitude and latitude of all 4 of your cornerstones. I'm sure they can even do more points if you want. If you wanted to do 4 points, or you wanted to do 8 points, 12 or 16 points of your property, they can do that and then tie it into Google Earth. And I mean, that's powerful technology that can really, really give you the assurance that your property is surveyed, and you can actually sit here for the next 2, 3, or 4 years and monitor your property and know that there's no encroachment. And when people know that you are sitting in the US and viewing your property real time, that within itself prevents those who want to encroach to know that they will look up in the sky and know that the satellite is looking down on them, and the owners in the US and say, I can see you guys there. You see, so I think that's powerful technology. So I think Liberians all around need to support, a Liberian company, a group of Liberians who have invested their money in a drone. Drones are not cheap. This is not something you can just buy off the shelf from Amazon for $25 or anything like that. This is something where these guys have invested their money. They've gotten training. They've trained Liberians. And this is an all Liberian coming together. And that's why it's so important for all of us to support, to elevate, to lift up each other and look at who we've become, as opposed to start looking at, this negativity of looking at people and say, from where they used to be, So I don't want to kind of highlight that point and talk about what you guys have done, and you guys should be congratulated on that. And that's a powerful business. That's a powerful business. So let's go into the first point. Ava, you can take it off from that. Let's go into the first.
No, I was just going to say, it's amazing. Thank God it's recorded so we can package that and try to sell the business towards that. But I don't know whether it was you who posted something or not, or whether I read it somewhere else. But we're just about, regardless of how great your business idea is and everything, if you can't market it right, your business will not be successful. So, that's just the point you just stressed about marketing that idea. So as much as we have a great idea and we think, most Liberians should buy into it, but they will not just buy into it. We have to market it. We have to sell it. We got to find those groups of people that could be first adopters in terms of using it. And there are some, but we have to, increase that number and get out to the market and really be pushy with it, And also, just so people can understand, you really broke it down well. But the one thing is the Google Map is not live per se, it's recorded, and it is a frequency that goes around. So what we do is more current than what Google Maps can do, and giving you like a quarterly surveillance report on your property will really be helpful to you versus, even you doing it with Google, where you can see it at the time, but it's behind. I can give you examples of my own property in Brewerville, where we have 8 acres. And when you look at it on Google Map, you don't see the level of encroachment with people building all over. But when we went and did the drone survey of that property, we saw how many homes were already built on it. And I will share with you, offline. But it's just interesting when you look at the comparison of the drone images versus the Google Earth images. And yes, you are right. Those platforms like Google Earth Pro, and other things, we can put, once we have verified that your deed is a probated registered deed, is valid, then we can put you on our landscape, our own kind of Google map, where everybody can see that that property is yours. And that is one thing that we need in Liberia, just as a country. They call it a cadastre. Is a documentation, visual and electronic, of all properties in a country, where every property is identified and the ownership is established. All the particulars about our property are all part of the system, and people can pay to access that information, for people who want to buy land, people who want to sell land, people who want to just find information about property, they can do that. So even the encumbrances, meaning if somebody has a claim on that property, or whether the property is in court, or whether the property has a mortgage on it, all of that information can be, put into that system. And that's what we are trying to build. We are looking to partner with the Liberian Land Authority as well to see how we can do it. They are very critical piece in this. There's significant wealth in land that can be unlocked once we know for sure that ownership is established. And that's what the Liberian Land Authority has that mandate to do. Now it's about the collaboration with the courts. It's about collaboration with the Liberian Revenue Authority. It's collaboration with other entities that need property and other kind of information to operate properly. Because I give you an example. If you just look from the top and look at, houses, everything look flat. Everything look like one level, right? But when we do our design, and somebody at Liberian Revenue Authority can look at the 3D design and flip it and look at, the house on one lot, but it's actually 4 stories. It got 4 apartments on each side. So that's basically 16 homes right there, compared with one small house on 1 acre. That's only 1 home. So when the Liberian Land Authority can identify all those different things, and along with LRA, we'll be able to better get our value from real estate in terms of government taxation, and also in terms of the valuation of property. Because a lot of times I think they stay valuing property based on what the property was built for, as opposed to what the appreciation of the property has become due to the community, due to other people building better homes around, due to the demand. So there are so many different factors that go into why property value increases. So we are just hopeful that we have started something that more people will get involved with. It will be, a public-private partnership, hopefully, and, Liberians can benefit.
So let's go again. I think what one of the things, maybe in the next couple of weeks, we will do a section of the show just from Pepperbird. I think that would be a great initiative to educate people, and you guys can do a demonstration. You and your guys can use the power of the internet. And
great, because I didn't want to do anything without George Famula. So it would be great. He's our Chief Area Officer and Technology Officer. So he will be able to present and share information with people, and then I can supplement. So I didn't want to steal his thunder, because that's his area. So market it a little bit more, and then more people can probably join the show, and then they can ask all the questions they want.
Okay, very good. So let's go into our topics for today. Let us not go off again, but I will be expecting my check for the advertisement presentation I talked about Pepperbird today. So whatever comes out of that, I'll be expecting. But that's good. So let's continue what we started talking about last week about the remittances. So we all talked about the power of SendWave, the power of MoneyGram, the power of Western Union, money coming in through the mobile telecom network, through data, through smartphones, to mobile money, Orange and mobile money, Orange mobile money, Lone Star mobile money, and the physical walking in to the various banking institutions and picking up MoneyGram money, because if we all know SendWave has a limit. So if you want to send $1,500, you can't do it by SendWave. So when you factor everything in, and Ava brought up a very, very important point last week about how long does that money circulate in the community. So Ava, let's take off that point. So since you brought it up, you take ownership of it, and let's go deeper, let's go higher, and let's expand it for people to get an understanding of how important it is that when money remittance comes into a Liberian individual through your phone, from the time you go over to a mobile money booth and pick up that money, and you make a decision as to where you're going to spend that money, how important is it where you spend it, a Liberian-owned business or a foreign-owned business? So I'll hand it over to you.
Right. So let's try a simple example that probably everybody can understand, right? So once you have a business, somebody has a business, for the price of the good, they actually have the cost of the good, and then they got some of the operational costs on it, and they got a profit. So you're not buying the good at cost, you're buying it with some addition. So if you as a Liberian, you get your money, and your first instance is to go and pay out of the Liberian community to somebody else, so that dollar is going out completely. Now, if you go to your friend Josiah, who has a business, and instead of buying sardine from the Lebanese store, you buy a sardine from him. So he has, held that money now in the community. Now, if Josiah take that same money now that he don't spend with him, other people spend with him, and go to another Liberian business, let's say he want a new suit, he go to the Yanam boy, he go to somebody and buy that from them, or maybe a Liberian person who has a clothing store, buy it from them and come through it. So that that money is circulating among us. Then that person from the store may go to a restaurant or Liberian restaurant and buy. So what we're saying is, the more money circulate among us, different people are doing better in terms of business, and it could eventually lead to wealth accumulation. So if we expand our topic now, we're talking about diaspora, remittances. If we venture into the import and export business and manage it well, we can really increase foreign currency and our foreign exchange position in Liberia. Okay, so we're pushing on agriculture right now, and Ministry of Agriculture is making some serious efforts to increase the production of cassava, to increase the production of rice, and likewise other products, right? So we have some products that other people can just grow easily. We got, butter pear. We got wonderful pineapples. We got someone that's slipping my mind right now. But basically, we are in a tropical country, and we can grow food that other people can grow. So if we can add value to some of that food, whether it's our pygmy bananas or it's some other stuff, and get them out of the country, utilizing diaspora investment to add to the processing, the packaging, and stuff of products. Or even if we look at Jusu Hassan poultry, and people can invest in our poultry, and be able to produce more products, then, we're keeping the money and we're exporting. And when you export, that foreign currency coming in, okay? But in the same token, if we're importing some stuff, we want to import to markets that we can control, to markets that Liberians can be, more easily purchased. So I gave an example the other day. If the Ministry of Commerce could just say, look, all the smoothie coming in, or all the PFO coming in, or all the this coming in, the Liberians will want to import them. So once that Liberian chain can be set up, importing those products and going down to distribution, to wholesale, to selling it, that's a chain that right there can go from Liberian to Liberian to Liberian and keep Liberian dollars, not necessarily the LD now, but money that Liberians own among Liberians. And again, the wealth can maintain there and keep circulating. And then new businesses by Liberians can be started. All of those things are critical to building wealth in our community. So we need more Liberians to think Liberian, to think of supporting Liberian businesses, to think of hiring Liberian businesses. And also, they should also be entrepreneurial to think how they can provide some kind of service of business to the Liberian people. That's where, when we keep building this consciousness of supporting each other, partnering. Sometimes you may have one idea, another person may have another idea. You'll come together and do business. We've got to break that cycle where we don't have confidence in each other to do business together. We got to individually now as well start to be responsible, that if I'm in business with this person, it's like a marriage. I owe them something. I owe them transparency. I owe them accountability. I can't be getting upset every time they bring me to a point or they share information with me. So then we gradually start to build each other up, and be able to move our sense of business to a higher level and get more people involved in business, in entrepreneurship, in support. So that's basically, a simple understanding of the circulation of the dollar within a community and trying to build that community up.
Very good point. Very good point, Ava. Again, everyone who's listening. So moving forward, when you receive your money by SendWave, or you get your money from the bank, Echo Bank, GT Bank, GN Bank, wherever the bank you pick up your money, or MoneyGram or Western Union, it's very important where you spend your money. If we as a nation, and now remember what Ava said, it's not about making money. What we have to do, we have to think long term, and we want to build wealth. Building wealth, it's basically you're building wealth. You're building a company. You're building wealth that will live long after you're gone. So if you only bring the mentality into creating a business, starting a business where it's all about you, everything is you, it has to be you, it must be you, then you need to ask yourself, one day when you're no longer here, what will happen to that business? What will happen to that company? That's why you build a business thinking more futuristic, looking forward, looking ahead, so that this business creates wealth for you and your generation, so that when you're no longer here, this business, this company can continue to operate because of your vision, and those new people who come into it can bring more ideas to perpetuate, to grow, to expand, to elevate, and keep moving the business forward. So when you think about the Liberian business community in across the country, that's what we ask ourselves: which companies, which businesses owned by Liberians have stood the test of time? And when you look at the list, I mean, there's nothing on the list, because everybody is so focused on making money as opposed to building wealth. And that's so important. So with all of this diaspora money coming into Liberia through remittances, we need to understand that also small, petty, medium-sized Liberian businesses, let us take this time to elevate our thinking. All of this money is coming in 7 days a week. This money comes in 7 days a week. The mobile money guys are on the street in every part of this country. So when this money is cashed out and handed over to you, it matters. It's very important. It's very vital. It's critical to our national development, our economic growth, our wealth building, where we spend this money. Let us spend this money with fellow Liberian businesses. Now, on the other point Ava just raised is Liberian businesses. It's so important. I've got to, I've got to hit this point. Ava mentioned a very important point. To grow in business requires a very important level of what? Of maturity. When somebody, criticizes you or highlights an issue, a deficiency, a fault, a failure in your operations, don't take it personal. Take it as a learning experience. Okay, it's a teachable moment for you to embrace, because no one knows everything. So when one of your customers highlights the poor quality of your customer service, understand that guy's a customer. He's spending money and he demands better quality service. So don't get upset and say, well, this is my business, I can do whatever you want. Then you just lost the customer. You would take his money and go and spend it somewhere else. So We Liberian businesses, small, medium, petty, you start off as a petty business and then you grow to be a small business. Then when you get to the small business stage, you grow in maturity and then you become a medium-sized business. And then when you grow from medium, then you become a large business. So if you don't learn along the way, you're not going to grow. And all of this money, remittance money, all of this remittance money coming into the country, you will not benefit from it because other people, customers who want to spend their money with Liberian businesses who are giving them the quality of service, the respect, they would take their money elsewhere because you have not grown and you have not matured and you are not offering the quality of service. So money remittance is important to our national growth, our national development, also infrastructure development. So the more you spend this money with Liberian-owned businesses, and that money spends a longer time in circulating in our Liberian community, be it Iron Gate, be it Rehe Field, wherever it is. Once we can spend those time, Nizo, once we spend that money in that community develops because small business is local. That's the fundamental premise of small business. Small business is local. The provision shop up the road, it's a local business. So it's affecting everybody in that local area. So the more you spend the money with the local business, the local community benefits, there's economic growth and there's prosperity that will be there. If you spend the money with a non-Liberian business, that money will be received, it will be packaged, it will be bundled, taken over to the bank the next business day and exported out. And we will not see the benefits of that money in our communities, in our nation. It will not serve our purpose. So it's so important on this remittance issue. Moving forward, every Liberian who's listening to this program, make it your duty, make it your responsibility to participate in the economic growth of your community, the economic growth of your county, the economic growth of this nation by spending your money that comes in through Western Union, MoneyGram, or Sendwave with a local Liberian business, and make sure now that you're educated, when you hand the money to the guy and say, look, my man, make sure you spend this money. When you go to spend the money, make sure you spend it with another Liberian business so we can keep the money within our community. You be the one to be, now that you're the student and you've learned this, you now become the teacher to teach the next person. That's how we grow. That's how we educate ourselves. And that's how we become prosperous. Okay. Everybody got that? If you have any questions, put it in the chat, either on Love TV Live or put it on Ava Tokba's page, and we will read those questions. Anything else, Ava, before we move over to the next point?
I just want to share. There's an event coming up called the Liberia Annual Diaspora Reunion. I think it's something they did for the centennial, the bicentennial, and they're looking to do that every year now in December. Set a time where it's a preference for people from the diaspora to come back to Liberia. But I think it's also an opportunity for local businesses because it's a tourist affair as well, right? They will come with friends. They will invite other business people. They will want to invite investors who will want to come to Liberia as well. So with that kind of annual event going on, some people do business annually or seasonally. Some people do business all year round. But people can start to target, what kind of business could be in demand for people who will be coming at that time of the year to see how they can leverage that. Then there's also an opportunity for us to conscientize the diaspora Liberians and their friends who are going to have a focus that, yes, let's try to support local businesses as much as possible. Let's try to integrate into the community, not necessarily all the fancy touristy places like the hotels and some of the bigger beaches and stuff like that. But let's try to find some of those niche areas that are Liberian owned that we can, support and we can patronize. So I'll reach out to the organizers as well to see how that kind of arrangement can be set, where again we can see the influence of the diaspora on the local economy when they visit, in December.
Very important point. Even on that point, right? For those who will be going to such an event, this is an opportunity for you to really do some business development, to do some marketing, to do some to gather some market intelligence on some investment opportunities in Liberia. When I say investment opportunities, there are so many small, medium, small, petty the medium Liberian businesses who are looking for strategic partners to invest in their business and move it from where it is to move it to the next level. And this is an opportunity for you to engage because if you knew everything and you had everything, then why are you at that level? So you need to realize that you've grown it to where you can grow it. And now you need a partnership, and partnership can be defined in so many aspects to move it to the next level. So I think, again, business growth, business expansion, business development requires a certain level of maturity for you to understand that you build it, fine. You own it, fine. You've developed it, that's okay. But you brought it up to a level where you can no longer carry it because probably the mindset, the understanding, the capital investment that's required to move it from step 3 to step 4, 5, and 6 is simply not there. And that's where the partnership can be built upon. That's where the relationship can be built upon. So on this, major diaspora, resurgence or coming back to Liberia during this time for tourism, those of you who are going to be participating in that, going back to Liberia to participate in that, let this be an opportunity for you to investigate, to do some business development, do some marketing of yourselves, engage with local Liberian businesses, participate with them, sit down with them, say, hey man, this your drinking spot here is a good place. It's got a good location. You got a good customer base, but I want to be a partner with you. I want to invest 10,000, 20,000 into this business. Where can we meet in the middle so that we can benefit from the future growth? Hey, this cyber cafe you have, I want to invest, I'm into IT in the US and I want to invest into this business because I want to put 10, 15, 20,000 in, increase the broadband or internet capacity, put Wi-Fi, put in a better ticketing system and market it, to a couple of different locations. All of these things are great opportunities for Liberians to truly, participate in and see how we can engage with our local Liberian businesses and grow it, lift it, elevate it, and move it to the next level. So I think it's so critical. I think it's so important that we do that so that we can move our companies and move our Liberian businesses from level 1 to level 2, and then even higher to other levels as well. So I think that's what we can take away from this. Let's move to the next point, Alba, because I see some comments on your StreamYard here talking about the importation, Liberian diaspora investment in local Liberian opportunity. Yeah, very good. We're already on that point anyway. How can diaspora Liberians invest in local businesses? Okay, I just expanded on that point. So you chime in. How can diaspora Liberians who have access to capital, the 401k plan, their savings, how can they engage with local Liberian businesses, be it in poultry, agriculture, be it in farming, be it in the ICT sector, be it in hotel, motel, Airbnb, be it in real estate, be it in transportation? How can diaspora Liberians meet the challenge, engage with local Liberian businesses to move, form partnerships, form relationships, and move those businesses from where they are to the next level?
So to a large extent, you have kind of answered it, right? So the first thing is identify what area you think you can be, a good investor and a good business person in. So a lot of people have, exposure here some understand how to do business, some have been working in one profession for significant length of time, so they got experience in that sector. So try to find somebody of similar nature or in similar line of business with you that's in Liberia, and start to build a relationship. It doesn't have to be a rush thing, okay? Because relationships are very important. Being able to understand if that person shares some of the values you share, some of the principles you have. So it's about communicating and understanding how can we work together, and then being able to build on that effort to work together with that person. So the first step is identification, and that takes some work. And people should not be scared to do the work. Sometimes you may have to do the work through other people. Sometimes it could be somebody post on social media. Sometimes it could be somebody talking about their business. And then you engage them. And then once you start to understand what they are doing and what you want to do and how those two things align, then you start thinking about integration. How can we come up with an agreement? How can we come up with a way that we are both protected? Because as much as we're saying Liberian, yes, but there has to be documentation to support the relationship, to validate the relationship, and sometimes spell out the terms of the relationship. Because sometimes it could just be, oh, the person won't do one specific project and you see it as an investment opportunity. Oh, my man, I can help you with that. Let's work on it. We sign a little MOU or some kind of agreement on specifically what we want to work on. Or it could be like, look, you in this, let's say, telecom business, you want to sell Starlink, but I got exposure to Starlink. I got exposure to sales and service capabilities when it comes to telecom. So maybe we can work together and start our business. So there's just so many different nuances to it, but it's important that people keep that the North Star is we are Liberians and we want to work together. That's the direction we're going. We are Liberians, want to work together. We are Liberians, want to work together, want to do business together, want to support each other. When we keep thinking about that, and then trust. You see, for me, a lot of times I say, I don't trust anybody. I build degree of confidence and I build circumstances around our relationship that got its own alerts and everything. Because let's face it, most human beings are corrupt by nature. Most human beings, if not all. And they will be tempted, especially if it's a cash and carry business. So in order to do that, you got to protect yourself. You got to make sure you got systems of accountability. So as you and other people work together, you're built something together, then you got to know what the check and balances is. How can you immediately notice if somebody is deviating from how you guys are supposed to do business? Is there inventory control? Is there sales reporting? Is there, some kind of day-to-day interaction where you are aware of what happened in the business? So those kind of things have to be there. But regardless of the fact that sometimes people want to screw other people, we still got to be focused on how can we work together, because that collective effort is just not for me and you. It may impact other Liberians as well. So we have to be committed to that integration effort, finding those points where we can come together, where we can do business together, where we can be successful, where each person has something to contribute, whether it's just financial resources, whether it's the exposure to the international market, if we're going to be doing something exporting, or whether it's just the strategy and the planning and maybe the technology side of the business. There's so many aspects of business where we can collaborate on, but we got to first start to get to know each other, understand each other, and bring down the barrier that separates us. Because whether people want to admit it or not, some people in the diaspora have this perception sometimes that they're better than people on the ground, or they know more than people on the ground, and then people on the ground themselves have this perception too that people from the diaspora are strangers, they don't belong here for whatever reason. So all those little negative things that we have for each other, we got to break them down, let them not be barriers to us building relationships and integrating and working together.
think, one of the challenges I think diaspora Liberians have, okay, so there are challenges on both sides. You just identified it, right? There are challenges on both sides. So I'm a diaspora Liberian. I have $20,000, whatever the case is. And I say, you know what? I'm in the IT sector in the US, whatever the case is. And I want to come back to Liberia and I want to do something in that sector. We talked about it. We touched on it last week. You've been away from Liberia 10, 15, 20 years, whatever number of years. You've been in the US, the only association you have with Liberia is either through Facebook, phone, WhatsApp, talking to your sister, brother, uncles, whatever the case is on that side, reading news and seeing all of these challenging things taking place. So you want to now engage. You want to go, you're going home for a month. So again, like you said, you got to number one, identify what sector you want to invest in. That's the first thing. Number two, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. You're going back to Liberia, you want to invest your money. One, it's your money. You work hard for that money. So naturally, if you're going to invest the money, you're expecting a return on that money. Number two, so what's the plan? What's the sector of the market? Is it into IT? Okay, fine. You want to go into the IT sector. You want to go and do this. What type of IT business do you want to do? Okay, let's say I want to do public Wi-Fi. Okay, fine. So what I want to do is I want to either go and open up a cyber cafe or find somebody who has a cyber cafe and invest in, Wi-Fi, the whole area and stuff like that. So I don't want to start from zero. And that's important. The important thing is when you are diaspora Liberian going back to Liberia, you need to understand that it is more effective, more efficient, and wiser. I'm pointing to my head for a reason. It is wiser to attach yourself to something that is already moving than for you to do something, from the genesis or greenfield type project, right? Where you're going to have to do everything for yourself because you are exposing yourself to a lot of volume. You're going to make yourself very vulnerable. You don't know the market. You have no business intelligence. You don't have the connections. You don't have the relationships. You don't know you don't know the layout of the land. So as a result, you are very, very vulnerable, and you are very vulnerable to be taken advantage of. So if you call yourself a businessman, then why would you want to put yourself as a businessman in a very vulnerable position? That's not very wise. That means you're not a businessman. You're a novice. Fundamentally, you don't know what you're doing, and you're about to lose all your money. You just don't know when, and you don't know how. You're about to lose your $20,000 that you worked so hard for. You just don't know who's going to take it from you. And you don't know which well is going to fall down in, and you don't know how you're going to get beaten up and how you're going to get back on the plane or come back home and say, well, the people in Liberia are not serious. So the plan is very important. The sector is very important. And understanding that, you don't know everything. You don't know everything. This arrogance from the Liberian diaspora going back home that they believe that they know everything because you live in the US. Okay, fine. Let's look at that point, for example, for first Ava. Okay, so you live in a developed world. Electricity, telecommunications, everything, running water, all of those things are available. We don't even think about those things. Now, you're about to get on a plane and you think the plane is flying forward. No, the plane is flying backward because you're coming back to a developing country where electricity is not available. It's almost like a luxury. You don't have running water available. That's almost like a luxury. And the internet is available. You have to pay for it. Okay. So, and then you don't have the level of understanding, technical competency or exposure to the majority of the people you're going to be interacting with. You're vulnerable. So I think that's where most diaspora Liberians need to kind of, tone down their expectations and tone down their arrogance so that they can meet the people at that level and then be a teacher. And then they can also be a student where that person who's local can also teach them. So together they can form that partnership, that relationship at that level. The local guy can educate you, inform you, and tell you where the relationship can be built upon. And you mentioned the three key words, the MOU. What is the scope of that partnership? What is the scope of that relationship? What are the key points you guys will be working together on? What are the monitoring points? What are your expectations? What are his expectations? One of the biggest challenges with diaspora Liberians and local Liberians is documentation. We don't like documentation. We just want to sit down, drink two cold beer, two stout, and talk about business. And man, let's work together. No documentation. Next thing you know, you're pumping money in the man's business. You're not even getting any receipts, and you're setting expectations. And you say that you can't trust the man. No. If you are a businessman, then behave and demonstrate the characteristics of a businessman. A businessman protects his money. A businessman protects his investment through what? Through documentations, through setting up KPIs, through setting up the MOU, setting up the agreements, making the agreements legal, putting in the check and balances, as Ava said, put into place the expectations, and you go bit by bit. You don't take the $20,000 and you put it in, give it, make it available. Find a local bank, okay? Do a joint account. Do a joint account. Have your own account, but do a joint account. Where should the sales be deposited? Does the bank have online banking? Set up the bank alerts. Set, when is the money supposed to be, the daily sales supposed to be deposited? You get the bank alert, the guy get the bank alert. What is the operational funds? Who gets hired? All of those things are what you sit down, like Ava also mentioned. Setting up a relationship is very, very important. It's tasking. And it requires documentation. That's why most people just want to sit down and they don't want to do the work. They just want to sit down, drink two cold beers, and make a relationship and shake hands. And then at the end of the day, 3 months later, they say, man, those guys, I don't trust them. Don't trust the people in Liberia. They ate up all my money. No, it's simply because you didn't do what you were supposed to do from the beginning. And that's how you lost your money. The people, they had nothing to do with it. You lost your money because you made bad choices as a poor businessman. That's my point. If you want to add anything, Abba.
That's a solid point. I'm trying to get to, oh yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Sorry, folks. Yeah, no, that's a solid point. The awareness has to be there, and the willingness has to be there. So, and there's information out there in terms of engagement. And we may think it's just easy or it's simple, but really it's not. In terms of getting back into a society that you have left for even a decade, that's a long time. 10 years, a lot can change, a lot can happen. And we're not so conscious of the cultural changes that happen as we stay away from home, or even a short time. But it's easy to notice if you have children and you travel, you go for a year or two for your kids and come back home, you're meeting a different animal than you left. So it's important to understand what change is and how to readapt into a situation. And it's just not only the citizens themselves, the diasporans and the people on the ground, but the people in authority also have to want this to happen. They should want this integration to happen. So it's got to facilitate on both sides. They got to keep that engagement. They got to be a partner. And we know that the Liberian government does not have money for the most part. So not necessarily a funding partner, but a partner that can look at what are the kind of incentives we can bring in to get these people, to work together, to do business together. What kind of incentives can we provide for diasporans who want to invest in Liberia, especially investing in an already existing business, So those are things that our policymakers now have to start really thinking about, what the potential impact is of diaspora investment and how it can turn our economy around. We see Rwanda, we see even Tanzania, we see Ethiopia. So we see these East African countries, Ghana right next to us. Even Nigeria, the Nigerians are doing their thing as well. So there are enough case studies of, diaspora. If you want to go out of Africa, the Indians are there. The Indian diaspora is huge in how they impact in the country. So we have these examples that we can follow and be able to do some similar things customized for us. We like to say we are different. So yes, we are different, but we customize those things for us that can make it work for us, and then ensure that it can happen. One of the key things is the judicial system that needs reform, where a contract is a contract. A memorandum of agreement, a memorandum of understanding is a legal document that can hold people accountable if there are clearly stated things in there that each partner is supposed to execute or be responsible for. So, understanding these things and being able to abide by them as an individual with principles, with conscience, and with a vision to really do this integration thing and work together, then all those kind of things can happen. So, I think we're in a wonderful time where we are building consciousness. I think more Liberians are getting to be aware of the value of being a Liberian, the importance of being a Liberian, and the appreciation, of a fellow citizen. I think is increasing. Yes, we got all this vitriol and negativity on social media and everything like that, but that is just social media. Don't take it for real, honestly. Some of the same people who cuss you or say whatever negative thing to you when they meet you in person is different. They don't have that same posture. They don't have that same negativity, that vitriol that they can come at you when you're not a physical being who can engage them. So those are some of the things we can look at. I never take anything on social media personally. It can cause my mindset. I just talk, So once we start to engage people with more positivity, it's just natural for that to come from them as well. And then we start on the fundamentals of of building businesses with people. It's possible. Integration is possible. There's a lot of information there for those of you who like to research. You can look at, topics like, diaspora return or handbook on diaspora integration back into the home country. All those kinds of things can give you a perspective on how to effectively navigate, that arena that may be strange to you. But there are people there who can be, very important business partners as we move forward.
So many Liberians talk today. You listen to all of the quote unquote politics about Liberia, all of the quote unquote negativity on the politics side. But the amazing thing is you don't see or you don't hear all of the business discussions. And all Liberians, both in the diaspora, any Liberian, all they want to do is to grow the private sector. But I think everybody forgets to understand that one of the most important, the most powerful, the most potent, the most effective growth mechanism or growth ingredient for the private sector in Liberia is the Liberian diaspora. The Liberian diaspora is a wealthy entity, if I can call it an entity. Okay, the collection of all of us who are in the diaspora, the US, the EU countries, and Canada, and other Asian countries. We hold a tremendous amount of wealth. And just this engagement, this positive engagement with local Liberian businesses, small, petty, medium-sized Liberian businesses in the furniture area. I mean, I cover both energy and ICT, telecommunications, be it internet. The public Wi-Fi business in Liberia is a multi-million-dollar business outside of Lone Star and Orange. Just public Wi-Fi internet investment across Liberia on a small scale is a tremendous opportunity to create thousands of new jobs and acquire a lot of wealth. Why? Because all of this money that comes in on MoneyGram and Western Union and Sendwave, the bulk of that money is spent where? People buying data. People buying data. People buying data. But the thing is, those who buy data, one thing you need to understand, people who buy data, they buy data for what? For a smartphone. And why do they call the phone a smartphone? The phone is already a Wi-Fi device. So that means if the man has access to cheaper internet by way of Wi-Fi, then he can also still make his connection on Wi-Fi and still spend less money, but get more of a data experience for connectivity on his WhatsApp and whatever the case is. So there are tremendous opportunities there. The monetization of Wi-Fi in developing countries, those who have invested in it have made millions of dollars because the money remittance comes in and funds that. So where can diaspora Liberians invest in that? Again, it requires the knowledge, the understanding, and the local engagement in Liberians who have drinking spots, Liberians who have motels, hotels, Liberians who have, just putting Wi-Fi in the education sector. It's a tremendous investment. So I think the Liberian diaspora is the single one entity, if I can call it that once again, that can truly transform. Okay, that's the key word. We want to transform Liberia. We want to be transformational in our investments in the Liberian private sector so that this democracy can also transform itself, where we have a large private sector and we have a small government sector. Making rules, making the laws, I understand, but let the job creation, the opportunities, and the wealth not be in government, but let it be in the private sector. And that's where the Liberian diaspora play a very important role, a critical role in this engagement, as Ava said, engaging with the local businesses, small, petty, and large, medium-sized Liberian businesses from Maryland County to Cape Mount, from Montserrat to Nimba, and to Lofa County. Our engagement at this level is so critical for us to transform, to be transformational leaders. Being a transformational leader doesn't mean you go into government. No, the most important transformational leaders, Ava can attest, in the U.S. have been those who have been in the private sector. This electricity that we talk about. Where was Thomas Edison? Was he working for government? No, he was in the private sector. Ava, correct me if I'm wrong. But look where it is today. Everything that we enjoy today, you look at Bongmai, the German company, it wasn't German government, it was a private company. You look at Yikipa, you look at Firestone. Okay, those are all private companies. Those are transformational leaders in the private sector that brought transformation in the economy to create thousands of jobs, and that led to economic growth and development as a result of the salaries they paid. So that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need the diaspora Liberians to elevate their thinking, get rid of all of this arrogance, and embrace the fact that they don't know everything, and the people on the ground can be a major resource. That resource, engaging with your diaspora capital investment, can bring about transformation economically, create jobs, and also, most importantly, like we talked about in the first segment, create wealth for both the diaspora investor and the local Liberian, and transform the economy, create jobs, and move the country forward and grow the private sector in whatever local area. Okay, let's talk about the last topic there. I think the last topic there was importation, right? I think importation. Somebody had a comment there about people importing. What is it? People importing 120 volt freezers from the U.S. into Liberia is affecting them and stuff like that. 120 volt freezer, you still have voltage regulators that can take the 120, take the 220 and step it down to 120. So I don't see an issue there. The issue there is that what role does electricity play in in development. So you take it from on the importation side.
Yes, so again, it's about understanding the market too, and knowing, and also local people knowing what capabilities are in terms of those step up, step down, and those adjustments, right? So it may not be that big of a problem, but if you can customize whatever you do to the infrastructure situation on the ground, it makes things, a little simpler. You more the technical electricity and, engineering guy than I am, but the little bit I know again is part of the market research that people can do in terms of what equipment they need. Because, for example, again, somebody was educating me, and I don't know whether is fact or not, right? Like some of these newer day tractors and graders and other stuff, they're not that efficient in Liberia. And then because of repair situation and maintenance, and one thing what happened to them, they would just sit down. So getting machines, you got to make sure you got some capability to repair it, or you got people who understand. The same thing with you got a maintenance plan. Unfortunately, we don't think maintenance a lot in Liberia. We just think use. But maintenance is so critical to extend the life of anything you do. Just like a simple car. If you change a car oil every 3,000 miles, you're probably adding 5 additional years of life to that car just by that regular oil change and not even doing much else. So maintenance is very critical. We see the same thing with even in the healthcare sector in Liberia. There's a lot of medical equipment that come to Liberia. There's a lot of machines and stuff like that. But be able to maintain those machines or have the expertise for maintenance or to pay the maintenance contract. Some of them are expensive, I'm going to admit. A maintenance contract could be easily $25,000 to $30,000 a year on an MRI machine or a CAT scan machine. So those things are not cheap. But at the same time, if you have them, if they will work for the people, we have to be committed as a people to maintain them. So the same way your business, if you can introduce any kind of machine, whether you're on a farm or whether you're on in a low, factory or stuff, make sure you don't bring in machines that will easily break down, trying to shortchange, maybe get something cheap, or you don't understand the basic repairs. For some people who go to China and other places, if you can at least go and get that little practical training or send one of your people for that training to operate that machine, so you can have, it would be expensive on the front end, but that person can give you a machine and an additional 4 or 5 years of life to produce for you. It makes a big difference with your business. Or that there's no downtime, because every time you get downtime, it affects you. People cannot depend on you as a provider for that particular product for them at the particular time that they want it. That affects your reputation. It affects your bottom line as well. So being able to sustain and stay in business and be consistent, that the customer know you are a dependable provider for whatever good they want from you, is just so important. So that's why getting the right equipment, from an importation standpoint, is very important. Then from the business standpoint of importation, again, is understanding the market. And like we had Cyrus calling last week, McGee, and he was talking about how, when I mentioned about people will string you until they know you got to leave because you're on a time limit. So you make sure you market ahead of time, that people know what you're bringing, what you're coming with, and even get some commitments. I know some people in Liberia who do procurement for people there. They actually get the money for the goods before they come to the U.S. to buy the goods and take it. So they're not behind the 8 ball when it comes to chasing people for the money in general, because sometimes people, they're hard to pay debt.
Let me just chime in here. So importation within itself is a major segment of the economy, and the diaspora play a very, very important role. And importation for a developing country is also very important, where you have a major diaspora population in the developed world, right? So there's always a need in the developing countries for those products or those used equipment, if I can put it there. I see my fellow engineer, Mr. Abu Dekonti Sanso. He's talking all about energy and electricity stuff. Hi, Abu. Thank you for joining the platform here today. And I think, you know, the importation on two levels, right? So you have a lot of equipment coming in: freezers, air conditioning units, electronic beds for the hospital, the medical side, and things like that. But I think you hit on a key point, Ava. Maintenance, 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 and also planning, 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 and then also strategy, strategy, strategy. When you're bringing things in, it's always very, very important. The market is there. I don't disagree. The market is there. But have you done your market intelligence? Have you done your market intelligence? Have you done your market survey to find out who the users of this equipment is? So then the other thing is it better to sell, or is it better to rent this equipment to those who you know need it, but they can't actually buy it? So you're bringing in hospital beds. Okay, fine. But now you know that some of the hospitals may not be able to pay upfront for the beds. So what's your strategy? Is it that it's better to provide them the beds and then sign an agreement where you own the beds and they pay you a certain amount over time, where you get a little bit of something on a progressively longer time period, where every week or every month you're getting something for your 10 beds that you put in that hospital? You're being creative in your solution to get your product sold. Number two, have you done any business development in the market? Have you done any marketing, any advertising, Facebook, the different radio stations? Have you paid for airtime to come on the air and talk about what it is you're bringing? Have you set up dedicated phone lines so that people can contact you, so that, you know, those who are hearing about what it is you need can contact you and buy it from you even before it gets there? So I think the diaspora play an important role in the importation that will that will support the economic growth within the country. But I think the diaspora, again, this level of arrogance needs to be reduced, removed, taken out of the equation. And then this level of humility and learning needs to be brought in, so that we understand that we don't know everything. Then, you know, let us engage and let us make sure that we bring in the products. And then last but not least, maintenance. There's a whole bunch of technical schools in the country. There are so many vocational technical schools in the country. Engage in the vocational technical school, find young Liberians who are graduating as technicians, bring them on so that they can also be your service technicians to customers in the field. And it's so important. It's so important. Even if you're bringing in used freezers, used refrigerators, they all need repairs. So when people buy them, then the technicians are there. And you're creating jobs for those technicians, where they can go into your customers and they can service those equipment when your customers buy. So again, it's all about creativity. It's all about marketing, but importation play a very important role. Let's go to the phone lines, Rufus. So let's take some calls today.
Yes, so I can share with him, you know, oh, I'm muted on your line. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. So he was asking how people in the diaspora can um, get money. So there are multiple different ways. Some people, just based on the salary alone, they do savings. So they save some money. It's not an easy thing to save. A lot of people have to live hand to mouth, so they save. The next way, some people have employers that have different plans. They call them 401k plans, where they contribute to you and you contribute from your pay too. And then you don't touch that money until you get to your retirement age. But if you do touch it, there's a 10% penalty. So let's say if you have saved 10,000 and you want to take out 1,000, they will expect you to pay 1,100. So that's the 10%. Then there are other people who invest in the stock market or do different activities. They can get money from there, or they invest in actual, physical things like real estate and other stuff, and they can get money from there. So the accumulation of the individual savings, their 401k, example, my house is probably about worth about $600,000, but I owe about $300,000. So my equity in my house is about another 300,000. It's about 300,000, right? So if I were to sell my house today, me and my family would just go into Liberia. So that's a potential 250,000 we'll have to start off. And some people may have multiple homes, like you may have a rental property or another home. So you can cash out and go to your home country, or you may want to maintain a presence here and a presence there, which is it can be a good arrangement for a multiplicity of people based on what their needs are, what stage they're at, whether they are retirement age, they are just want to do business bi-coastal back and forth, or they stay working here, but they want to build their foundation in Liberia, that the transition do when the time comes for them to transition is much easier. So those are the different kinds. And then I won't talk about it, but they're just some of the bad people who will build up good credit here, and then probably take a loan on the exit. They know they say they won't come out to America. They know in their mind they're coming, or even if they're coming, so what? At the end of the day, when people take loans and they don't pay, it goes on their credit record. That's another whole system that we got to talk about. We got a building in Liberia, or credit, or a strong credit system. The central bank has something, but it could be improved upon. But yeah, so some people can support their credit just to make that transition easier. So those are the different ways that people can have money to come to Liberia to invest. And right now, in my mind, I believe there are at least probably about 8 to 10,000 Liberians who are on that cusp in my age group, or probably a little older, who have some money sitting down, whether in their 401k, or again, they will be getting Social Security too, right? Yeah, as you work, you pay something called into Social Security, so that when you get old and retire, you can get something in return. Now, for some people, it may be 1,500. Some people, 2,000. Some people 2,500, based on how much you earn and how much you put into the system. But that's money that on a monthly basis you will get and can maintain your lifestyle in Liberia as a retiree. So there's just options, a lot of options for the diaspora people, especially those who did relatively well or just lived the right way. So yes. Wonderful, wonderful input. But time for me.
I have to go. So, like, how about do your closing? Then I'll stay with Rufus.
Right, wonderful. I think this was a great show. I enjoyed the input from the two callers. Definitely, Abu is on point with what he's saying. We can't let our environment be contaminated with waste. So we got to be very cautious of what we bring into the environment and what we bring being useful, and that we can repair or maintain them, and not just add to the level of environmental waste we currently have in the country. But the topic was very, fundamental to how businesses can grow, how we can keep money in our economy, how we can support and work with each other. So there's a lot to this. I just hope that we can continue and continue to build. People who come on the show, share the show with other people, share the information, and we just can continue to work. Rufus, we appreciate you creating this facility, working with Akina for us to be able to communicate with the people out there. It's very important that we build that entrepreneurial mindset, we build that collaboration with each other, and try to look at the commonality rather than the differences and the barriers that separate us. So I'm just excited for this opportunity, and I look forward to us doing more and more of this kind of stuff. And hopefully in the next couple of shows we can bring a couple of people, different people on, maybe for 30 minutes. Well, somebody just joined, but we're about to exit, so I'm not going to add him. We'll keep him for the next show. That's my partner, George Family. You don't see it feel like I add him to the stage for a couple of seconds, but I got to go. So, George, I got to go. I just added you for a couple of seconds. If you want to weigh in on, many of the topics we're talking about, yeah, you and I have discussed those over the years, in terms of doing business and circulation among Liberians, collaboration, XYZ, building a trust factor, all of those things. So, but
did you guys talk about civil service?
No, this is not a political show. It's a business show. So, George.
Yeah.
But George is solution oriented as much as he may want to talk about.
No, but listen,
solution.
Listen.
But George, I got
everything
is event I gotta go to. So I got 5 minutes to listen to you.
Everything is politics, guys. Okay, policy is politics, and when policy doesn't work, the country doesn't work. So, anyway, let me just say this, and we can pick it up later on. There is no policy prescription that anybody in the government can make without the implementation of technology that will work. None. You want to feed people, you want to you want to decrease poverty. If you don't have technology solutions to do that, it's never going to happen. People can write all the fantastic papers they want to write. It's not going to happen. I hate to raise my friend Sam Jackson in his absence, but Sam's always talking about all the things we should do to increase revenue. And, I asked him, how are you going to increase revenue if you can't increase the amount of revenue you generate from taxing land? And then he brought me this big thing from, what's the school he went to?
London School of Economics.
Yes, London School of Economics, and talking about land value capture. Well, guess what? That's exactly what Pepper Bird is doing. We're doing the actual implementation of the theory that you know. You learn that theory in school. But land value capture has to do with being able to measure plots of land and ascribing value to them, which is what we're doing. So at the end of the day, for the policymakers in Liberia, it doesn't matter what policy you want to implement. I always say, I run a medical company, and I always say to people, it doesn't matter what business you're in. You're actually a technology company that delivers that business. If you're a baker, you're only as good as your technology is. Okay. So we have to get on board with bringing in people who have technology and, get them doing the things they need to do to make the country work. So anyway, that's my spiel.
Thank you, George. We have a separate session where we invite you. You may be our first official business guest to come on to discuss Pepper Bird, your services, your capabilities, and the whole national impact of being able to have a cadastral and have that kind of service available. Welcome again. Thank you for coming on very short notice. But we are at the end of the road. I got a family picnic to go to today, and I can't drive because of his neck. So I gotta make sure that I'm outside the door, standing up when my ride comes. So thank you. I appreciate the show, everybody. Thank you. We'll chat later. Bye bye.
Yeah, very very good point there to the guest that showed up, George there, and the word technology is so powerful. I think the point that he was making there, Ava, as you leave, is we have a fundamental what we call disconnect. There's a disconnect. So one person is here with this point, another guy is over here with this point. But the point he's raising to drive this point, he doesn't understand that there's a connection between there and the disconnect is there. So you bring something from the London School of Economics that talks about land value, but then he forgets to know that the last time I checked, London is the capital of a country called the United Kingdom that operates with energy and technology as a fundamental part of the foundation for the economy. And then you come back to Liberia, you can't even keep the light on for 30 or 45 minutes, and you want to apply something from a technologically advanced society into a one that is developing. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. And, I think one of the challenges for us, Rufus, as we move in this business, as we continue driving the show, talking about business, small Liberian business, medium-sized Liberian business, engaging the diaspora. One of the biggest challenges of the diaspora, you talk, if even if I paid for another 1 hour to be on the show today, and we just say all the diasporans to call in, one of the biggest challenge every diaspora in Liberian potential investor will tell you, their challenge is electricity. This energy thing, I don't know why everybody avoids talking about this. And I think it's because, people have turned electricity energy into a political issue, and it should not be so. It is not a political issue. When you politicize something so critical, so vital, so to national security, national security doesn't mean just people with guns and stuff like that. No, it means your viability as a nation, your economy, the people who are putting money in that economy. If those companies don't work, you have a massive number of unemployed people in the country, and that within itself is a threat to national security. Yeah, it is. We have a major drug problem on our hands in our country. Why do you think it is? Because these young people cannot find jobs. Why can they not find jobs? Because investors are not bringing them money. Why? Because there's no electricity. And when there's no electricity, the few companies that are able to cover the investment of electricity cannot hire everybody. So you're left with a major gap. So electricity, and as long as this critical topic, this critical need, this critical aspect of our existence, which is electricity, is politicized, then nobody wants to touch it, and then nobody wants to address it, and nobody wants to raise it. And then all of a sudden, the issue, the topic, that key, it just sits there and the nation stays in darkness. So when the investors come, they just come and create a small area, and then they keep it and protect it as their investment. And only that one area has electricity. So as a result, you have millions of people from Maryland County to Cape Mount, from Montserrat to Nimba and to Lofa, just growing up in the darkness. And then you come to find out these people have no place in an advanced economy. And this is a problem. It is not a political issue. It is a national security issue, because these young people, when they get frustrated, then what are they left to do? Go and sit down and just smoke their brains out. And then we want to put bad names on them and call them Zogos. It's a cause and effect. It's a cause and effect. And I'm passionate about this thing. I mean, I'm not going to apologize to anyone because I bring up the issue of electricity. It's not a political issue. If the people running this system if they're incompetent, they're incompetent. That's just the reality. But this thing is not complicated. It's simple. It's straightforward. You know, the biggest news that happened this week for this country is that the bill for Cote d'Ivoire has not been paid. So, I mean, you can imagine what that is going to do, Rufus, to businesses like yourself, the radio stations, all the media institutions across this country, the cell phone companies across this country, the hospitals, the small Liberian businesses. Their cost of operation is going to skyrocket. They're going to lay people off because they won't be able to make their sales and make their salary budgets. They're going to cut jobs. And this is a direct result of bad leadership. And now, where's the politics in that? People are paying for their tokens for the electricity bill, but they're not getting electricity. So, I mean, this is something that it must be addressed, because if we are going to grow the private sector, if we want to attract the diaspora, which is the wealthiest entity abroad, to invest in local Liberian businesses, small, medium, and large, energy must be addressed, because nobody invests in the dark. It's fundamental. And I can't understand why this is political. I can't understand it. I simply cannot understand it. I simply cannot understand why this must be a political issue. And energy is the number one thing that creates wealth within the U.S. As George Famula said, he runs, whatever company you are in the U.S., small, medium, large business, you're only as good as your technology. But guess what? That technology depends upon electricity to power up the technology, to make the business run, to turn the computers on, to turn on the ovens, or whatever the case is. And if we don't have that, then we're just going to continue to remain in this state of no growth, even though the power is passing right through the country and going over to Sierra Leone and Guinea. And those countries are growing, they're expanding, they're making the cement poles, they're planting it, they're expanding it. And we're just sitting in the middle with the power passing right through. But all the breakers to the substations are disconnected because we have a poor leadership that didn't pay the bill over at the power company. And this is, it's killing the country. It's killing the young people. It's killing every sector and every segment of the economy. It's not creating jobs. It's not attracting investments. Even the big companies who are looking to come in, HPX and everything else, what do you think they're going to depend upon? They're going to depend upon energy. And what they're going to end up having to do is to cut separate deals to buy their capacity from Ivory Coast and bring it in only for their investment, like what Mittal is doing in Grand Bassa and in Nimba. They're building their own substations that will be independent to operate and provide power that they buy from Ivory Coast through LEC and they will pay directly to make sure that their power doesn't go off because to protect their investments. That's fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. So that means if LEC does not pay the Ivorian for the power, guess what will happen when you get to Buchanan? Only the Mittal Steel facility is going to have electricity, but the rest of the county, the rest of the city is going to be in darkness. That's fundamentally wrong. And why should that be called something political? It's killing the economy. Is depriving Liberians of their future. I mean, I'm a businessman. Like I said, this is something I'm so passionate about, and I'm not going to stop. No one's going to tell me to stop. So many people have called me. I don't pay them any mind. We're going to drive this thing. We're going to talk about this thing. Business talk. We're going to expand it. We're going to elevate. We're going to bring in. Next month is going to be a new month for the show. And we're going to have a lot of guests coming on it, from the diaspora and from local Liberian companies. We'll put them together on the show, and they will talk about how they can partner up together and talk about how we can formulate relationships. And that's what we're going to be doing, and we'll talk about electricity. We'll talk about energy to make sure we're going to make sure that we use the show to do the right thing. Thank you, caller. Thank you for your point. You are 100% correct. You are 100% correct. There's nothing any nation, any country can do without electricity. And again, like I said, I cannot understand. I cannot understand as an electrical engineer, working in the energy sector here in the US, I cannot understand why something so fundamentally clear, so fundamentally simple, so fundamentally right, so fundamentally, vital to the country's existence, why it is not being addressed in an overly aggressive, urgent way, why there is no urgency being put on this, being placed on this, being applied to this. For the life of me, I cannot understand it. What brought me into this thing here was when Robert Morris was running for president as an independent in 2023. We talked, the platform was all about energy, electrifying the nation and building the national electric grid, investing in Transco, connecting all the counties to the Transco grid, creating thousands of new jobs, making cement poles, building our relationship, leveraging our bilateral relationship with the Chinese to bring in, so that the aid to Liberia would be in the form of electrical equipment, transformers, sectionalizers, and other things that will help to build the grid and connect the counties. We talked about investing in solar energy in every county. So there will be microgrids in the county so that every county will be self-sufficient in energy, and then tie it into Transco so that Liberia would then be able to start exporting energy at the end of, within 3 to 4 years. Look where we are today. 1 year after talking about this, what have we done? We haven't moved one step further. So, caller, thank you so much for your point. Energy is important. We have rivers, but hydropower projects, as I've always said, take a longer time to build depending on the capacity. But now with solar energy and solar, what we call utility battery storage, that technology presents Liberia with a great opportunity to power up the country within less than 2 years. Even though the Transco line is there, is that a bad thing? We just need to get the right people in the right positions to make the right decisions and turn energy into an urgency, into a national security issue, because this connects to job investments and transformation of the country. So, Rufus, thank you for the show so much today. Like you said, time is fast spent. We went way past our time. We'll pay the penalty for that. But to everyone who listened, to everyone on both platforms, on our platform and on Love TV Live, we say thank you so much to all of the people who placed comments. We appreciate your participation in the show. This is Business Talk, where we talk about business, Liberian business, both local and in the diaspora, and the joining of these two powerful entities, Liberian diaspora investors and local Liberian businesses. If we can bridge this gap, we can fundamentally transform our economy from a highly government-run economy to a minimum government-run economy to a highly private sector-run economy. Only if we can bridge this gap. And that's what this show is hoping and we're trying to do, where we advance, business ideas. We try to keep the politics out of it the best way we can, but we talk about those issues, those topics, those ideas that are fundamentally business related and bringing our people together. So once again, thank you so much. Have a great, safe, joyful weekend. And don't forget, you're going to receive some SendWave money. Make sure when you cash out, spend it with a Liberian business so that money circulates more in the Liberian community. We can build wealth. Thank you so much, Rufus. Have a great weekend. Be safe. And once again, peace out.